The door exploded open before anyone could scream, and that was the moment my entire family realized the truth. The room was full of soft music and the smell of fried chicken. Our big family reunion had just ended, but nobody wanted to go home yet. My uncles talked loudly. My aunties laughed. My cousins scrolled on their phones on the couch. I sat in the corner of the living room, my back straight, my hands shaking around my phone. I opened my banking app. The circle spun slowly, like it was teasing me. Then the numbers appeared. Balance, 0.00. At first I thought it was a bad network. I blinked and refreshed the page. The same number stared back at me. Empty. My chest felt tight. All the money I had saved. 2 years of work. Late nights. Extra shifts. Every plan I had. Everything gone. A small sound came out of my mouth. It was not even a word. More like a broken breath. My dad, sitting in his big chair with his legs wide apart, glanced at me and snorted. He always snorted when he wanted to show he was not impressed. "What is it this time, Emma?" he asked. "Did your little coins disappear?" Everyone nearby looked at me. My cousins smirked. My older brother rolled his eyes. I swallowed hard. "My account," I whispered. "My money is gone." Dad leaned forward, squinting like he had not heard me well. Then he gave a short laugh. "Gone," he shrugged. "Relax. We needed it more. Family comes first, right?" Some of my relatives laughed. One aunt said, "You are young. You will still make more money." Another added, "You are not married, you do not have children. Why are you holding money like an old man?" Hot tears stung my eyes, but I did not let them fall. My hands were still shaking, but something inside me went very still. Like a lake with no wind. Slowly, I reached for my bag on the floor beside my chair. "If you really needed it," I said, my voice quiet but clear, "then you will not mind what happens next." They laughed harder. My cousin Ryan even clapped. "What will you do, Emma? Cry on us?" Before anyone could say another word, a loud bang shook the front of the house. It sounded like someone had hit the door with a hammer. The walls trembled. The door flew open, hitting the wall with a hard crack, and everyone turned to stare at the figure standing there, breathing hard, holding something in their hand. Earlier that week, things were very different. My name is Emma Carter. I am 26 years old, and I am the responsible one in my family. That is what they call me when they need something. When they want money for hospital bills, school fees, rent. When they want a new phone but do not want to save for it. We did not grow up rich. Dad worked many small jobs when I was a child. Sometimes he drove a taxi. Sometimes he sold things at the market. Mom cleaned houses. Money was always a problem, and Dad always said the same thing. Family first. Money is for family. It sounded nice, but as I grew older, I noticed something. Family usually meant everyone except me. If I saved, they spent. If I planned, they interrupted. If I tried to say no, they called me proud, stubborn, or ungrateful. So I made a quiet promise to myself. I would help when I could, but I would also protect my future. I opened a savings account in my own name. I worked at a small online company as a support agent and did freelance jobs at night. I watched every coin, every transfer. I dreamed of starting my own business one day. Then Mom called and told me about the family reunion. "Everyone will be here," she said. "Your uncles, your cousins. It has been years. Your father wants it to be big. We will cook. We will eat. We will talk. We will show them that we are doing well." I could hear how excited she was. I agreed to come and even offered to bring some extra food. What she did not say on the phone came later in a message. "Emma, your father is short of money for the reunion. He wants it to be special. Can you help with some funds? He has your account details already." That last sentence made my stomach twist. Dad had my old details from years back when I was still learning how to use online banking. I had changed my password, but he still knew my bank name, my email, and parts of my security information. I did not think too much of it then, but now the message sounded different. I replied carefully, "I can send a small amount, Mom. I have my own plans too. I will transfer what I can." I sent some money. Not much. Just enough to help with food and drinks. I told myself it was fine. I was still in control. The rest of my savings would stay safe. On the day of the reunion, the house was full from morning. People arrived with big voices and bigger appetites. Music played. Children ran. Women moved in and out of the kitchen with trays. Men sat outside under a canopy, talking about politics and business. Dad walked around like a king. He slapped backs, laughed loudly, and kept saying, "My daughter Emma helped with this. She works online. She is doing well." Every time he said it, I saw the way people looked at me. Some with pride, some with envy, some with calculation, like they were already counting my money in their heads. At one point, Dad pulled me aside. "Give me your phone," he said. "Let me see that banking app you always talk about. I want to show your uncle how much my daughter is making." I pulled my phone back and laughed a little, trying to keep my voice light. "No, Dad, that is private. You can tell them I am doing fine, but nobody needs to see numbers." His eyes went hard for a second. Only a second. Then he smiled again. "You are starting to behave like strangers with us," he said. "We are your family. Remember who educated you, who fed you, who gave you this life." The words cut, but I stayed calm. "I remember," I replied. "That is why I sent money for the reunion. I just also want to protect what I am building. That is all." He walked away without answering. I watched his back and felt a small, cold worry in my chest, but I pushed it aside. It was a happy day, I told myself. I should enjoy it. The reunion went on for hours. We ate. We played games. Old stories came up. Some were funny. Some were painful. People drank and laughed loudly. By evening, a few guests had left, but most of the close family stayed. Then, as the sky outside turned dark and the music became softer, my phone buzzed in my pocket. One new message from my bank. I frowned and opened it. "Dear customer, your transfer of 5,000 has been completed. New balance." The number at the end was lower than I expected. My heart skipped a beat. I had not made any transfer that day. I opened the app. The page took longer than usual to load. People were still laughing around me, but their voices felt far away. The numbers appeared. My savings were almost gone. Another alert came in front of my eyes. Another transfer. Same day. Same account number it was sent to. A name I knew very well. The receiver's name was my father's full name. My fingers went cold. I looked up slowly across the room. There he was, laughing loudly with my uncles, holding his phone in his hand. The world around me seemed to stop as I stared at him and felt my whole body begin to shake. The figure in the doorway stepped fully into the room, and everyone froze. But the story of that moment will continue soon. For now, we go back to how everything spiraled into that explosion at the reunion. After I discovered the transfers, my breathing changed. It was fast and shaky, like I had run a long distance. I checked the transactions again, hoping they were mistakes. They were not. My dad had moved the money in small chunks, over the last 4 days, without telling me. He must have used my old security information and guessed the rest. Or maybe he had watched me once without my noticing. I stood up slowly from the couch. My hands were cold. My cousins were too busy making jokes to notice anything. My mom walked past me with a tray of drinks. She smiled at me. I tried to smile back, but it felt like my face was made of stone. I walked toward my dad. He did not even look up until I stopped right in front of him. "Dad," I said quietly. "Can I talk to you?" He finally glanced at me. His eyes were red from drinking. "Talk," he said, waving his cup around. "We are all family here." I leaned in so others would not hear. "Why did you take my money?" He laughed softly. "Money." Then he clicked his tongue. "You worry too much. I needed it. The family needed it. The reunion needed it. Stop acting like you are the only one who works." My throat tightened. "But that was everything I saved," I whispered. "You didn't ask me. You didn't even tell me." He leaned back, looking annoyed. "Emma, you are young. You will make more. You do not have children. You do not pay school fees. What do you need the money for?" Then he added with a smirk, "And if you didn't want anyone to use it, why didn't you hide it better?" That sentence felt like a slap. I stepped back from him. Not because I was scared, but because a part of me was afraid of what I might say next. My heart was beating too fast. My stomach felt heavy. I felt like I was standing in a dark room looking at a stranger. I walked away without answering. Mom noticed my face when she returned to the living room. "Emma, what is wrong?" she asked. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. "He took everything," I whispered. "All of it." Mom froze. The tray in her hand shook. "Your father used your account." I nodded. Her eyes filled with worry, but also fear. She knew there was nothing she could do. Dad always made the decisions, and she was expected to follow. Before she could say anything else, more relatives walked in and the noise grew again. People were laughing, dancing, teasing each other. Nobody cared about the storm forming inside me. I walked outside for air. The night was cool. The sky was full of small stars. I stared at the street, trying to calm down. I needed a plan. I needed to think. But all I felt was anger rising like fire in my chest. Family first. Money is for family. We needed it more. All those words suddenly sounded like excuses to take, and take. And I knew something clearly. If I stayed quiet again, they would keep treating me like this forever. I would work, they would spend. I would build, they would break. I would save, they would empty. A soft footstep sounded behind me. I turned. It was my younger cousin, Lily, holding a cup of juice. She was just 16, sweet and curious. She looked up at me with wide eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You look like you want to cry or scream." A tiny bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Maybe both." She stepped closer. "Did someone say something to you?" I hesitated, then nodded. "They took something from me." She frowned. "Then take something back." Her simple words hit me harder than any adult advice I had ever gotten. I bent down slightly. "What do you mean?" She shrugged. "Nobody listens when you talk. Maybe they will listen when you act." A strong wind blew through the compound. The trees rustled. Somewhere far away, a car horn sounded. I whispered, "Action." I already knew what I needed to do. I had been planning something for a long time anyway, something Dad never knew about. But now, I would use it. I went back inside. The living room was noisy again, but my mind was calm. I picked up my bag from the corner. Nobody noticed except one aunt who said, "Where are you going, Emma? Bring more meat when you come back." I did not answer. I reached for a small black envelope inside my bag. I held it tightly as I turned around and walked into the center of the room. Everyone looked up. "If you all needed my money," I said loudly, "then you will not mind what happens next." They laughed, thinking I was joking. Then the loud bang hit the door. The house shook. The door flew open, and everyone turned to see who had arrived, holding something in their hand, breathing hard, looking straight at my father as if they had come for him. The figure in the doorway stepped inside, and the room became silent so quickly it felt like someone had pressed pause on the whole world. My heart pounded as I watched everyone stare. But before we return to that moment, we need to understand how things reached that point. After the reunion, chaos began building. Something inside me changed. I was no longer shocked. I was no longer emotional. I was simply done. I had spent my whole life being the quiet helper, the person who always gave and never asked for anything. I trusted my family too much. I let them drain me because I thought that was what love meant. But that night, I learned an important truth. Love without respect is just another form of control. Earlier that afternoon, before the reunion got noisy, I had been sitting alone in Mom's old room. I opened my laptop to check something unrelated to the reunion. What I found instead gave me the final push that later led to the loud bang at the door. I had one email notification from the bank's fraud department. It said someone tried to access the investment section of my account the previous week. Someone had tried to move money into an unknown wallet but got blocked by security. I knew immediately it wasn't me. And there was only one person in the family who liked to test passwords just to see if they work: my father. The email was one thing. But the second email was what truly shocked me. It was from my freelance platform. Someone had tried to change the recovery phone number on my account. They had typed in a number I recognized instantly. My father's number. He hadn't just taken my bank money. He had tried to take my entire income source. My stomach twisted. My legs shook. But my mind turned sharp. I rushed to check my second savings account, the one nobody knew existed. It was small but safe. Then I opened the digital file I had been working on for months. It was a list of every loan, every request, every unpaid favor, every emergency I had covered for the family in the last 4 years. Every single one. And the totals were bigger than even I remembered. They owed me more than everything I saved. But that was not what mattered most. At the bottom of the list, highlighted in red, was Dad's biggest secret. Something he prayed nobody ever found out. Dad owed money to a man named Marcus Hale. Not a bank. Not a friend. A man everyone in the neighborhood feared. He loaned people cash and took their property if they couldn't pay. Dad always swore he had everything under control, but the numbers in my file said otherwise. He owed Marcus more than he could ever repay. And he had used my money to try and pay him secretly. As I stared at the screen, a powerful thought entered my mind. If Dad thinks he can take everything from me because I'm family, then he will learn that actions have consequences. Still, I wasn't interested in hurting anyone. I just wanted respect. I wanted accountability. I wanted the truth exposed. The list gave me an idea. A dangerous one, but also the only one that felt right. I saved everything, closed the laptop, and packed the black envelope I later held during the reunion. Inside that envelope was evidence that would embarrass Dad more than anything he had ever done to me. I wanted them to feel what I felt. Shock, confusion, fear of losing something important. Meanwhile, back in the living room, after I made my loud announcement, everyone kept laughing, believing this was another Emma overreacting moment. But then the bang happened. It was loud enough to shake the frames on the wall. A deep voice followed. "Open this door." Everyone screamed. People stood. Some ducked behind chairs. My cousins ran behind their parents. Mom clutched her chest, whispering, "Who is that?" Dad stood up slowly. His entire face changed when he heard the voice again. "Carter, open this door now, or I break it down." That voice was familiar to him. Too familiar. The door flew open before Dad could reach it. And there stood Marcus Hale, the man nobody ever wanted to see at night. He walked in, breathing hard, sweat on his forehead, holding a folded paper in his left hand and something metallic in the other. He looked straight at my father with wild, angry eyes. "You thought you could hide from me, Carter." Dad's face went ashy pale. The whole family stood still, terrified. Then Marcus said something that made the room even colder. "And you think you can pay me with stolen money?" Everyone gasped. My father's mouth dropped open. Mom grabbed my arm and whispered, "What is happening?" My cousins trembled behind the couch. Chairs shook. Plates rattled. The room felt like a storm. Marcus stepped forward, and his voice fell even lower. "Where is the rest of my money?" Dad could not speak. His lips moved, but no sound came out. He looked like a man watching his own world collapse. But Marcus wasn't looking at him anymore. His eyes moved slowly, until they landed on me. Then he pointed at my bag. "Show me what you brought, Emma." The entire room turned to stare at me. Dad's voice finally broke through the silence, loud and panicked. "Emma, don't." But it was too late. Everyone waited for what I would pull out. And I reached into my bag. Everyone stared at me as I reached slowly into my bag. My fingers touched the edge of the black envelope. The room was silent. Even the music from the speaker seemed to fade by itself. My heart beat so loud I could hear it inside my ears. Marcus took one step closer. His shoes made a heavy sound on the tiled floor. His face was hard and sharp, but his eyes were focused only on me. Not on my father. Not on the people screaming and trembling. Only me. "Open it," he said quietly. I held the envelope tight. My hand shook a little, but I did not let it show in my face. My father stood still beside the dining table, his hands frozen in the air like he did not know what to do. My mother held her breath. My aunts clutched their chests. My cousins hid behind chairs. Nobody moved. I looked at my father for a moment. His eyes were wide, scared, almost begging. He had always acted strong, brave, in control. But right now, he looked like a child who had been caught stealing sugar in the night. I took a slow breath and opened the black envelope. Marcus leaned in. Dad shouted, "Emma, stop." But I kept going. I pulled out the papers and held them up slowly so everyone could see. Even from across the room, they could see the bold red words on top. Loan agreement. Incomplete payments. Property at risk. A loud gasp filled the room at once. It was like everyone was hit with the same shock at the same time. My father stumbled backward. "Emma, how did you get that?" I did not blink. I did not look away. "I have known for months." "Dad." Marcus crossed his arms, nodding. "Your daughter is smarter than you." My uncles whispered among themselves. My aunts began asking questions. My cousin's eyes were huge. Everyone stared at my father like they were seeing him for the first time. I continued speaking in a calm but strong voice. "This is not everything. There are 4 more pages. Each one shows how much you owe, how long you have been avoiding payment, and how you used my money to send the small parts you could." Gasps again. My mom covered her mouth. "Oh no, oh no." I pulled out the next paper. It was a printout of the bank transfers. Transfers from my account. 4 days in a row. All sent to Dad's name. All without my permission. I held it high. "This is why my account is empty," I said. "He used every bit of my savings to try to fix a debt he hid from all of us." My chest felt tight but steady. For the first time in my life, I was not scared to speak the truth. One uncle shouted, "Carter, is this true?" Another added, "You stole your own daughter's money." But Dad did not answer. His lips moved, but he had no words. Marcus finally spoke again. "You told me you had everything under control. You told me your daughter gave you the money willingly. You said she was helping family. So when I saw the transfers from her account, I thought it was your plan. I came here tonight to collect the rest." Then he turned his eyes to me. But it seems she did not agree to anything. I shook my head. "No, I did not." Marcus's jaw tightened. He sighed. "Then your father lied. And now, someone needs to answer for it." Uncle James stepped forward nervously. "Marcus, please. Let us talk. Do not do anything crazy." Marcus raised his hand and everyone fell silent again. "I am not here to hurt anybody," he said slowly. "I just want my money." Then he pointed at my father again. "And I want the truth." My father finally spoke through shaking lips. "Emma, why would you bring this man into our home?" I stared at him with surprise. "You brought him into our lives when you took his money and tried to hide it." Dad swallowed hard, shaking his head. "I was going to return it. I was going to fix everything. With my money." I asked quietly. Dad froze. The room grew even colder. A small voice spoke from the side. It was Lily again. "Uncle Carter, you took her money. All of it." Dad could not answer. My voice broke the silence again. "I wanted you all to see who I really am to you. Not a daughter. Not a person. Just an account to drain when you feel like it." Even Marcus looked moved by those words. I stepped forward and placed the papers on the table, neatly and slowly. Then I looked at Dad. "I am done being your purse." The room took in a sharp breath. Dad's face changed from fear to embarrassment to anger. His hands tightened into fists. His chest rose and fell fast. He pointed at me, his voice trembling. "You think you are strong now because you exposed me," he said. "You think you can embarrass me in front of my family. In front of this man. I am still your father." His voice rose. "And you will still respect me." He slammed his hand on the table. The plates shook. Glasses almost fell. Everyone jumped. And that slam triggered something unexpected. A loud cry came from behind the kitchen door. A sudden crash followed. Then the kitchen door burst open, and someone stumbled out, holding their arm, bleeding, shouting, "Help! Something is wrong inside the kitchen." Everyone screamed. Some ran to the back. Others froze in fear. The reunion turned into chaos. Smoke drifted into the living room in thick, gray waves. People screamed and jumped back as the injured man collapsed onto the floor, holding his arm. My mother rushed toward him, but Marcus grabbed her shoulder gently to stop her. "Wait," he said. "Something else is happening." Everyone turned toward the kitchen. The strange orange glow behind the door grew brighter. The crackling sound grew louder, like something was burning. Dad's fear turned to panic. "My house," he shouted, running toward the kitchen. But before he could reach the door, another burst of smoke shot out, followed by a loud pop that made everyone flinch. Dad stumbled back, coughing and waving the smoke away. Uncle James quickly grabbed a bucket of water. My mother screamed for everyone to move outside. The children cried. Chairs fell over. Dishes scattered across the floor. It was chaos. I rushed forward to help the injured man on the ground. His sleeve was torn, and his arm was scratched badly, but not broken. The stove, he gasped. It caught fire. The whole back corner is burning. My heart raced. This was not part of my plan. I wanted truth, exposure, and consequences, not destruction. Marcus stepped forward calmly. Everyone outside now. In seconds, the crowd flooded out the door into the cool night air. Coughing, crying, shaking. My father remained inside, pacing back and forth as if confused whether to save the house or the things inside. I called out, "Dad, come outside." But he ignored me. He ran toward the kitchen again. Marcus went in after him. "Carter, move." They disappeared inside for a moment. The glow of the fire flashed brighter against the walls. Then both of them came back out, dragging a small bag and a large pot of water each. They splashed the water inside. Steam exploded in the air. More smoke. More coughing. Finally, after a few tense minutes, the fire died down. The house was not burned down. The kitchen corner was charred, but the fire had not spread. Everyone sighed in relief. Dad dropped to the ground in the yard, breathing hard. His clothes were dirty and wet. His face was sweaty. He looked tired, older, smaller than before. The family surrounded him, confused and angry at the same time. Aunt Rose scolded him. "Carter, what is happening to you?" Uncle Ben shook his head. "You brought trouble into your home." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "You risked everything. For what?" Dad finally looked at me. His eyes were red and shaky. His voice cracked, barely above a whisper. "I did not mean for all of this." I took a step forward. "You never do. But your decisions always hurt the people who trust you." He lowered his head. For the first time in my life, I saw my father defeated. Not by Marcus. Not by the fire. But by the truth. I knelt down beside him. "Dad, stealing my savings was the last line. You crossed it." He covered his face with his hands. I was scared. I was drowning. The debt was killing me. I thought if I solved it quietly, no one would know. I just needed time. I never wanted you to hate me. I stared at him, my heart tight. "I don't hate you," I said softly. "But I can't trust you. And trust is worth more than money." He let out a shaky breath. Marcus stepped forward, placing the burnt pot on the ground with a heavy clang. "Carter, you owe me. But I am giving you one last chance." He pointed at my father. "You will pay the remaining amount within 1 month. No lies. No tricks. No using your daughter's money." Dad nodded quickly, almost too quickly. "I will pay. I will." Marcus turned to me. "And you saved your father tonight without even meaning to." I frowned. "How?" He smirked a little. "If you had not exposed him, he would have kept lying. And this debt would have crushed him. Now, everyone knows. And he has no choice but to face the truth." I looked at Dad again. He was staring at the dirt like it could solve his life. The rest of the family watched. Silently. Then my mother stood up straighter and said quietly, "This family needs to change." Her voice surprised everyone, even my father. "No more secrets, no more taking advantage, no more abusing kindness," she continued. "Emma, your courage tonight opened our eyes. We should have protected you, not drained you." I felt tears prick my eyes. Dad whispered, "I am sorry, Emma." The words were weak, but they were real. I nodded slowly. "I forgive you. But I am setting boundaries from now on. I will help where I can, but I will never let myself be used again." The family murmured in agreement. Some apologized. Some hugged me. Some looked ashamed because they knew they had been part of the problem. As the smoke settled and everyone calmed down, the lesson became clear. A good heart is a blessing, but letting people walk over it is not. The night ended with the family cleaning the kitchen together. Marcus left with a warning and a promise. Dad stayed quiet, humbled, and thoughtful. And me, I walked outside, feeling the cool breeze on my skin. My bag felt lighter. My mind felt stronger. For the first time in my life, I stood up for myself. And the whole world finally listened.